Archangel Michael is crying because you always skip him. Someone who was warned didn't listen, and the consequences are already in motion. Open it quickly. There are moments where heaven thunders and moments where heaven weeps. This is one of the latter. The silence between the realms hath been broken not by the clash of swords, but by the sorrow of an archangel. Archangel Michael, the commander of heaven's armies, the wielder of divine flame, now stands in solemn sorrow, not out of defeat, not out of fear, but out of holy mourning. His tears are not just tears, they are signals, sacred announcements that something has been ignored, skipped, dismissed, cast aside by the one who was meant to listen. It is not every day that Michael cries. Divine beings do not carry emotion as we do, nor do they respond with tears unless the gravity of the moment demands it. Heaven is stirred. This is not symbolic. This is spiritual truth. You are being summoned into awareness, into reverence, into alignment. And yes, the air is heavy right now because the hour is sacred. Not every moment is marked by this kind of divine weight. But this one is. You have entered the atmosphere of reckoning, and something holy is being decided in real time. There was a moment, perhaps days ago, perhaps weeks, when a subtle whisper tried to reach you, a nudge in your spirit, a strange dream, a divine interruption that didn't fit into your schedule. You sensed it, but you skipped it. Michael sent a warning. You were alerted, spiritually, not through chaos, not through fear, but through the gentleness of divine mercy. You felt the stirring and delayed. You felt the pull and turned away. You were told something wasn't right, and you pushed it aside as emotion, as overthinking, as timing not yet ready. And now the consequence has already begun to unfold. This is not meant to condemn you. This is not shame. This is clarity. Divine beings weep not because they are defeated, but because the ones they protect turn deaf to their cries. Archangel Michael is not asking for sympathy. He is giving you a second chance. And heaven only gives second chances to those who still have a divine role to fulfill. That means you are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. But you are at a crossroads where your spiritual hearing must sharpen. It must. This message didn't land on your screen by accident. This is not a random scroll, not an algorithmic trick. This is divine intervention, strategically targeted. There is a holy urgency hovering over your life, and it is pleading, don't skip this again. You are not being shouted at. You are being chosen. Not everyone will understand the tone of this message, but those who are spiritually alert will feel the pull in their chest, the ringing in their soul, the trembling between their thoughts. This is not entertainment. This is an alarm. Before you continue, be still. Silence the noise around you. To the door, lower your head and open your heart. You are now entering a message that is not spoken from man to man, but carried from the mouth of an archangel to the soul of a chosen vessel. And that vessel is you. Type I receive this in the comments. Blessing code 717 has now been released. Hear this now, not with your ears, but with your soul. Within the next 3 minutes, something in you will begin to stir. It won't be a sound. It won't be a thought. It will be a divine vibration, a shaking within your spirit that confirms this message is not ordinary. This is not a story. This is not a sermon. This is not content. This is your spiritual moment. This is your holy collision. I speak now under the authority of the commander of heaven's host, Archangel Michael, heaven's war general, the one who stands at the gates with a sword that burns with justice and a shield that cannot be pierced by any darkness. He has been dispatched, not in wrath, but in warning, not with anger, but with divine ache, because someone under the sound of this voice is on the edge of making the same mistake again, skipping the divine, delaying the sacred, dismissing the holy. And Michael weeps because the consequences have already been set in motion, and you don't even realize how close you are to the flame. Yes, you. This is not a general broadcast. This is not for the masses. This is a direct communication to the spiritually sensitive, the prophetically aware, the chosen but weary. Something has already started to move behind the veil. A conversation was held in heaven, and your name was spoken. It wasn't shouted. It was whispered with urgency. Your window for obedience is thinning. And what you do next, what you choose in the next few days, will determine what heaven releases or withholds. You were warned. You were nudged. But your logic silenced it. Your emotions covered it. Your schedule excused it. And now, the angels assigned to your life stand watching, not with judgment, but with heartbreak. Michael is crying, not because he's powerless. No, he is weeping because heaven is rich in mercy, but man is rich in delay. Heaven sent signs. Heaven sent dreams. Heaven rearranged circumstances. And you still said maybe later. You still said, I'm not sure if this is God. You still said, I'll act when I'm ready. But what if I told you readiness is not your choice in this hour? You don't get to choose the hour of warning. You only get to choose your response. And when a divine being like Michael weeps, that means something sacred has been violated. Something urgent has been resisted. And now, the ripple of that resistance is showing up in your emotions, in your relationships, in your atmosphere. Have you not noticed the shift? Have you not noticed the pressure, the strange fatigue, the sudden miscommunications, the invisible weight that follows you even in silent rooms? This is not random. This is a wake-up call. A line has been crossed in the spirit, not by your enemies, not by some outside force, but by your silence, by your delay. You were told to leave. You were told to stop. You were told to pull back. You were told to pray deeper. But you stayed. You waited. You paused when you were supposed to move. And now, the shift that was meant to position you has become a tide that threatens to overwhelm you. But here is the mercy of heaven. Even now, even after the weeping, even after the delay, Michael is still watching. He has not withdrawn fully. He has only stepped back to see if you will recognize this final invitation. The Holy Spirit is sounding the alarm. The moment you're in is sacred. The timing is divine. Your spirit is being summoned into posture, into attention, into clarity. You not take this lightly. If you're watching this, if you feel this, it means you are still spiritually alive. You are still marked. You are still on heaven's radar. The weeping of Michael is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your shift. Because heaven does not cry without purpose. The throne does not allow sorrow without strategy. And Michael does not release a tear unless a soul is on the edge of either divine destiny or deep loss. This message is not for everyone. Many will scroll by. Many will feel nothing. But the ones who are spiritually awakened, the ones who are sensitive to heaven, they will not be able to shake this feeling. You will feel something ancient stirring inside of you. You will feel a holy fire rise in your chest. That is your spirit remembering that you were called to more than comfort, more than silence, more than delay. You were called to war in the spirit. You were called to discern, You were called to hear and obey. Michael is no longer just watching. He is standing. And when Michael stands, heaven is ready to move, in your favor or in correction. But the choice, beloved, is in your hands. Type "I am listening" now in the comments if you receive this. Lesson code 6444 is being released over you. There is something you haven't been able to explain. A feeling, a shift, a coldness that crept in like fog around your heart. The peace you once had, the clarity you once walked in, it has dimmed. And not because you turned away from God, but because someone close to you turned their heart in secret. A silence you didn't see coming, a distance you never asked for. You felt it. You felt the betrayal before it even happened. You felt the change in the air. The glances were different. The responses were shorter. The energy shifted. But no one spoke the truth. And heaven took note. Let me ask you, why did you feel that sudden drop in peace? Why did your heart start pacing without reason? Why did the room feel full of presence but empty of clarity? Because someone was smiling in your face while withholding truth behind your back. Someone who had access to your vulnerability, who heard your prayers and saw your struggles, turned their heart in another direction. And while you were still praying for them, they were plotting with others. While you were seeking God on their behalf, they were silently partnering with something else. And you were warned. Not by accusation, not by paranoia, but by a strange quietness in your spirit. A still, small alert that said, something's not right. You questioned yourself. You said, I'm being too sensitive. But sensitivity to the spirit is not weakness. It's divine discernment. Heaven was trying to protect you before the damage. Michael stood by, sword drawn, waiting for your signal, your permission to let heaven intervene. But the warning was skipped. You overrode your own discernment. You let emotional history speak louder than divine warning. And now, the discomfort you're feeling is not punishment. It's the consequence of misplaced trust. There are unseen conversations that were had about you. Words spoken without your name, but clearly aimed at your identity. Your reputation was weighed and dissected in secret. And the strangest part, you don't even know the full extent yet. You only feel the spiritual backlash. You feel the tightness in your chest. You feel the atmosphere shift when certain people enter the room. You feel drained after specific interactions. That is not random. That is residue. The spiritual residue of betrayal, deception, and subtle agreements made in shadows. And still God allowed it. Not because He delights in your suffering, but because He knew this disruption would reveal what was hidden. The snake had to show its skin. The mask had to slip. The smiles had to crack. And what you're seeing now, or rather, what you're sensing, is the exposure of hearts that were never for you, even when they were near you. This is a divine disturbance. It is meant to shake you out of apathy, to draw you into prayer, to pull you into the secret place, because you will not find peace by confronting the person, not yet. This is not about arguments or explanations. This is about awakening your spirit. Heaven wants your ears back. Heaven wants your spiritual eyes wide open. This isn't just a person issue. It's a positioning issue. Heaven is realigning your environment. Because where you're going next, everyone can't follow. Yes, you're confused. Yes, you're unsure who to trust. That's by design. Heaven is isolating your perception so you stop leaning on others and start depending on the Spirit again. You're being pulled back into sacred silence because that's where the downloads come. That's where clarity forms. That's where Michael receives permission to strike, not with violence but with truth, justice, and separation. You don't need to chase people for answers. The answers are coming, not through gossip, not through exposure, but through divine confirmation. You will hear a phrase. You will feel a surge. You will see something that connects the dots. And your spirit will whisper, "This was the moment Michael was warning me about." But even then, do not retaliate. Stay silent. Stay sacred. Because heaven fights differently. Right now, you're in an emotional fog. Not because you're weak, but because you're spiritually detoxing. You're purging attachments that were never built on truth. And that purge feels like confusion. But confusion, in this case, is heaven's way of getting your attention. It forces stillness. It pushes reflection. And births prayer. So pray. Ask the Holy Spirit to illuminate. Sit with your journal open. Write down what you sense. You don't need proof to obey. You only need peace. And the longer you ignore the lack of peace, the longer you delay your breakthrough. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are waking up. The betrayal you feel was necessary. The silence from others was an answer. And the discomfort within you is confirmation that this is your spiritual turning point. Do not skip it again. This time, you must respond. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $10. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe for more prophetic insight, divine clarity, and regular spiritual alignment messages sent straight to your spirit. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. Listen with a higher ear now. What you went through was not random. What you are feeling is not weakness. The disruption you faced, the betrayal you encountered, the emotional chaos that still lingers in the silence, none of it was punishment. It was refinement. It was heaven drawing the curtain back on your assignment and revealing that conflict, though painful, was never designed to break you. It was designed to reveal you. The tears you've cried, the confusion you've battled, the spiritual numbness you tried to ignore, all of it has been heaven's way of resetting your posture. You see, spiritual warfare does not always show up in the form of demonic activity. Sometimes it shows up in the form of emotional sabotage, the slow unraveling of trust, the quiet poisoning of atmosphere around you. And in those moments, we forget that heaven is not just watching, heaven is training. Every time you felt overlooked, it was a test of endurance. Every conversation that drained your spirit was a divine signal, not to retaliate, but to retreat into deeper discernment. And here's what most don't understand. The enemy knew your name before you ever understood your own authority. You were marked before you were matured. You were targeted before you were trained. And now that you're stepping into your awareness, the attacks feel heavier. Not because you're failing, but because you're finally aligning. Don't let the warfare confuse you. Let it confirm you. The increase in resistance is not a sign to quit. It's the evidence of impending elevation. Before every spiritual promotion comes agitation, isolation, and temptation. That's not punishment. That's positioning. Michael has seen this cycle again and again throughout generations. A chosen one ignores the signs, delays the obedience, and walks into unnecessary war. But here's what's different about you. You're awakening in the middle of the conflict. That means you still have time to realign. Yes, things got loud. Yes, people shifted. But heaven allowed the pressure so you could see who was real, who was false, and most importantly, who you were when no one affirmed you. You must understand this. The conflict was never personal. It was always spiritual. The person was just the vessel. The pain was just the method. The betrayal was just the classroom. Heaven used discomfort to purify your discernment. And now, your eyes are sharper. Your prayers are deeper. Your atmosphere is quieter. Because the old version of you would have lashed out, would have begged for validation, would have searched for peace in the wrong places. But now you're being taught the holy art of silence as strategy. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the sound of heaven sharpening you. When you go silent in the natural, angels go active in the spiritual. The moment you stopped defending yourself, Michael's sword began to glow. The moment you stopped explaining yourself to people who already made up their mind, the hosts of heaven were dispatched. Because when you finally surrender the urge to manage your image, heaven can start managing your outcome. You must frame this conflict correctly, not as abandonment, but as alignment. Not as warfare, but as weapon forming. Isaiah said, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." But what if that weapon being formed was never aimed at your body, but at your confidence, your trust, your hope? What if the weapon was an emotional one, formed in secret, forged in gossip, lit by betrayal? The reason it hurt so deeply is because it was meant to shake your roots. But the shaking was needed. God allowed it to pull you out of the shallow soil you were planted in. Because shallow soil cannot hold deep roots. And the level of harvest God is bringing to your life requires a root system that cannot be shaken by mere words or rumors or temporary pain. Heaven isn't punishing you, heaven is maturing you. Archangel Michael did not cry because you were weak. He cried because you were late. Because the longer you delayed your surrender, the longer heaven had to hold back the wave of favor assigned to you. He cried because the spiritual defense waiting to be released was withheld, not by demonic resistance, but by your hesitation. But now you are seeing. Now you are awakening. Now you are recognizing that what looked like spiritual abandonment was actually divine training ground. Every moment you sat in silence and felt unseen, that was heaven building resilience. Every time you questioned who was still in your corner, that was heaven teaching you that angels don't need to announce themselves. They just stand. Now you are being called higher, called into spiritual maturity. No more reaction. No more begging for peace. No more chasing clarity from people. You are the clarity. You are the peace. You are the voice heaven is trying to amplify. But you must reframe this conflict. You must see it as heaven does, as a divine test of readiness. The angels are still here. Michael has not withdrawn. He has only paused, waiting for you to release the final word, "I trust you, Lord." Even in the warfare, I trust you. And once you release that, the battle begins to bend in your favor. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. You were never being destroyed. You were being disciplined. And now, the discipline is turning to release. Type "I am being positioned" in the comments if this word confirms your spirit. Blessing code 3030 is now in motion. There comes a moment in every divine process when heaven stops waiting. There comes a moment when the silence of angels is no longer patience, but preparation. That moment is now. Archangel Michael is no longer crying. He is standing. And when Michael stands, judgment begins. When Michael unsheathes his sword, delay ends. His tears have dried because the mercy period has thinned. You waited. You warned. You wept. But now the movement of heaven has entered its next phase, consequence. Listen carefully. A divine consequence has already begun. The signs are not future tense. They are present. Already moving. Already forming. Already unfolding like a scroll in the spiritual realm. And within the next 72 hours, you will see something, hear something, feel something that confirms this word. It will not be loud. It may not even be dramatic. But it will be undeniable. Something is shifting. Behind conversations and closed doors, in atmospheres you are not even in, your name is being spoken. Not in flattery, not in celebration, in deliberation, in decision. And some of those who once smiled in your presence are now partnering with spirits that were sent to distract, delay, and destroy your divine pace. There is a confrontation forming. It is spiritual first, but it will show up in your natural environment. It may take the shape of a miscommunication, a sudden opportunity that doesn't feel right, a door that closes unexpectedly, or a person who reappears with sweet words but stale energy. You must not lean on emotion in this hour. Emotion will blind you to consequence. Discernment will anchor you in clarity. You may already be feeling it, the tension, the rising pressure, emotionally, financially, relationally. Something is swelling beneath the surface, a weight you can't quite explain, a heaviness that shows up even when the room is quiet. That is not anxiety. That is atmosphere. That is heaven pressing on your spirit, reminding you that this hour cannot be handled casually. A divine confrontation is coming. It is not confrontation with a person. It is confrontation with your past obedience. What you ignored is returning for resolution. What you delayed is standing at the door. You thought time would make it disappear, but heaven operates outside time. God is not asking you to apologize. He's asking you to recognize. Recognize that your silence gave permission for enemy access. Recognize that your hesitation permitted unnecessary warfare. And now, the spiritual tide has turned. But not all tides bring comfort. Some bring justice. Within 72 hours, something will confirm this word. You will feel the edge of heaven's movement. A ripple in your environment. A moment that makes you pause. Do not dismiss it. Do not explain it away. It is not coincidence. It is confirmation. A name will be spoken. A door will open or close suddenly. A delay will break or increase. But something tangible will testify that this warning is not symbolic. It is spiritual fact. Michael is still watching, but he is not waiting. He is ready to move with divine speed, with surgical precision, with heavenly justice. He is not looking for your perfection. He is looking for your positioning. If you will posture yourself in obedience, in humility, in stillness, heaven will reroute the consequence. But if you continue to explain away divine instruction, then heaven will allow the shaking to increase, not to destroy you, but to awaken what was supposed to rise months ago. There's someone you've been entertaining in conversation, connection, or compromise, and heaven already sent you the exit. You were shown the misalignment, the contradiction, the tension, and yet you stayed. You remained. You lingered. That lingering is what has invited pressure into your space. And until you obey the last instruction, no new instruction will come. This is why the enemy is talking now. This is why strange favor is showing up from people you once doubted. Because the enemy smells the shift. He sees the angelic movement and wants to trap you one last time before heaven flips the script in your favor. Do not take the bait. Do not fall into the trap of comfort. Do not accept the counterfeit peace being offered to you by people who never carried God's oil. The consequence of disobedience is not always pain. Sometimes it's stagnation. Sometimes the punishment is not feeling pain but feeling nothing. And heaven never called you to numbness. Heaven called you to fire, to sensitivity, to alignment, to spiritual urgency. This is your warning. Not from a man, not from emotion, from heaven itself. Michael is no longer weeping over you. He has turned his face toward your next instruction. Will you rise? Will you obey? Will you finally do what you were told in the secret place? Or will you delay again until the confrontation no longer knocks, but enters? You are not helpless. You are not abandoned. You are still covered, but the covering moves when you move. This is the hour to act. This is the moment to remember what you skipped, what you ignored, what you put off. You still have the chance to turn it, but the window is closing. And after this warning, silence will return, not because heaven is quiet, but because it already spoke. And heaven does not repeat what was already clear. Act, pray, fast, disconnect, clean your atmosphere, remove what you know does not belong. You don't need another confirmation. You already know. You always knew. Type "I will not delay" in the comments if you receive this word. Lesson code 4411 is already closing in around you. Breathe. Cause. Feel the stillness pressing in around you. Do you sense it? The air has shifted, not in chaos, but in holy restraint. The storm may still be circling, but the center has formed, and in that center is your invitation to rest under divine shelter. The pressure you felt was real. The consequence was not a threat, it was an announcement. And now, heaven extends a sacred pause. You are still protected if you can hear this in time. This is not the hour to panic. This is not the time to argue, defend, or explain. This is not the moment to rush and overcompensate. Heaven is not looking for noise right now. It is watching for stillness. A divine kind of stillness. Stillness that is not passive but deeply obedient. Stillness that stands like a warrior in silence. Stillness that makes room for angelic deployment. Because when you go still in the natural, Michael moves in the supernatural. You are still covered, beloved, but only if you remember how to remain under the covering. There is protection hovering over you, but it will not follow you into rebellion. It will not cover you if you continue running toward voices that were never anointed to speak into your life. Protection is about a mic. Is access. It's unlocked. It's cultivated through posture. And in this moment, heaven is calling you back into a posture of surrender. The cry from the throne is simple: pull back, pray, and write down what you feel. Not what you think, not what you want to say, but what you feel, what you sense deep in your spirit when all distractions are gone. Because the Holy Spirit is still whispering. Michael is still stationed. But if you keep moving, if you keep reacting, if you keep rushing to resolve what God is trying to remove, you will miss the movement again. Heaven is not asking you to fight this time. Heaven is asking you to yield. This is the hour of sacred observation. Watch everything, not with suspicion, but with sensitivity. Listen longer than you speak. Feel the weight of conversations. Pay attention to atmospheres. Not everything requires your reaction. In fact, the less you speak, the more heaven does. Speaking less is not silence, it's strategy, and only the mature can walk in it. Your maturity in this moment is proven by your ability to hold what you know without needing to announce it. There's a reason heaven revealed what it did to you and not to them. There's a reason you saw it in a dream. There's a reason you felt it before they showed it. That is spiritual advantage. But advantage is dangerous when mishandled. That's why heaven is urging you. Stay low. Stay silent. Stay sacred. Michael's sword does not move with noise. It moves with precision. His command is divine, and it responds to your restraint. The less you react in the natural, the faster he cuts through the spiritual blockages around you. Angels do not follow chaos. They respond to holy alignment. And in this very moment, as your hands release the need to fix, Michael's hands are drawing his blade over every situation assigned to disrupt you. There is safety here, if you can stay still long enough to feel it. Heaven is not expecting you to be perfect. It's expecting you to be present. Present in your spirit. Present in your posture. Present in your willingness to let God show you what's really going on behind the scenes. Some of the people around you are not your enemies. They are simply broken. Others are not broken. They're disguised. You must be still long enough to discern the difference. That's why fasting is being whispered to you again. Not because it's religious, because it's a weapon. When you fast in silence, you shift the atmosphere around you. When you remove the noise of indulgence and pull into sacred simplicity, your hearing clears, your eyes sharpen, and your spirit aligns. And in that state, Michael moves swiftly. Heaven is not asking for your defense. It's asking for your stillness. When Jesus stood before Pilate, he spoke few words, not because he was afraid, but because he knew. Silence was the will of God. His restraint was divine warfare. And now, in your moment of disruption, heaven is asking you to follow suit. No more emotional venting. No more spiritual overtalking. Pull back. Pray. Right. Listen. God is not distant. He is strategic. He is speaking. But the volume of the world has drowned out the frequency of the throne. Turn it down. Cut it off. Find the quiet place again. Go back to the sacred space where the warnings first came, where the fire once burned, where the tears fell without apology. Return to the altar. Michael still stands there. And as you return to stillness, you'll feel it. Peace that doesn't make sense. Protection that isn't visible but impenetrable. You will move slower, but with more impact. You will speak less, but carry more authority. You will take fewer steps, but each one will shatter spiritual resistance. This is your instruction. Not for show, not for performance, but for protection. You don't need everyone to understand you. You only need heaven to back you. So walk quietly. Move wisely. Withdraw not in fear but in focus. Because what's being formed in the stillness is far greater than anything you would have built in the noise. Michael moves when you still yourself. Type "I choose stillness" in the comments to activate this covering. Blessing code 2255 is now wrapping around your path. They thought you would stay broken. They thought you would remain confused. They thought the silence would crush you, that the betrayal would drown you, that the consequence would paralyze you. But what they didn't see, what even you couldn't fully grasp, was that in the silence, your spirit was transforming. In the stillness, heaven was upgrading your mantle. In the shadows, the fire of God began to burn through every layer of victimhood that once clung to your identity like smoke. You are not who you were when the conflict began. You are no longer the version of you that cried in the confusion. Something inside you has shifted. Something eternal. The stillness wasn't a holding cell. It was a womb. And what was conceived in that secret place is now emerging. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with unshakable authority. The same hands that trembled in fear are now being lit with divine fire. The same heart that doubted is now roaring with holy confidence. You are rising, and you don't even need the applause. You don't need the recognition. You don't need to announce your comeback, because heaven has already gone ahead of you. They never saw your wings growing in the dark. They never noticed the weight of the crown being formed in your tears. You were shedding old skins while they were still gossiping. You were being refined while they were repeating rumors. You were stretching in the silence, expanding in the invisible. And now, what hath been hidden in pain is about to manifest in undeniable glory. You are walking out of that spiritual fog not as a survivor, but as a carrier of glory. You've shifted from begging to commanding, from questioning to discerning, from reacting to leading. You are no longer sitting in the rubble hoping someone will see your heart. You are rising with a sword in your mouth and authority in your eyes. You are standing under the open heavens as a vessel of divine retaliation, not against people, but against the darkness that tried to use people to delay your purpose. The fire that burned you has not disfigured you. It has purified you. It has clarified you. It has stripped away the false attachments, the hollow words, the counterfeit affirmations. And now, standing in the aftermath, you are finally seeing your own strength, not the kind built on noise or status, but the strength that comes from surviving a spiritual death and walking out with nothing but obedience and fire in your belly. You are not broken. You are battle-tested. You are not scattered. You are strategically placed. You are not overlooked. You were hidden until now. Let the enemy tremble. Let hell take notice. Because what they tried to keep buried has risen in divine alignment. The time of emotional paralysis is over. The hour of spiritual timidity has passed. You are not the wounded anymore, you are the warrior. And the sword in Michael's hand is no longer weeping for your delay. It is moving with the rhythm of your obedience. Every time you chose silence over self-defense, you were being strengthened. Every time you stayed low instead of lashing out, you were being elevated. Every time you obeyed even when it didn't make sense, heaven recorded it as authority. And now, you are being handed back what was stolen: dignity, clarity, divine identity. This is not a confidence that was taught. This is a confidence that was forged. You know now who you are. Not because people affirmed it, but because God revealed it. Not because the crowd clapped, but because heaven whispered your name in secret. You are no longer bending to environments that disrespect your discernment. You are no longer shrinking to fit spaces that were never built to contain your anointing. You are walking with eyes wide open and spirit fully armed. What was meant to reduce you, revealed you. What was meant to diminish you, defined you. What was meant to silence you, sent you. And now you walk differently. Not with pride, but with precision. You hear faster. You pray deeper. You sense quicker. You respond slower. And that is the evidence of transformation. You didn't just survive. You were sanctified. You didn't just make it through. You were marked. You didn't just hold on. You were healed. And the fruit of that healing is the fire you carry now, not the fire of anger, but the fire of divine purpose. So rise, not with noise but with weight, not with revenge but with revelation. Walk into rooms differently. Speak from a deeper well. You've been seated in silence for a reason. Now stand in strength for a season. You are no longer who they remember. You are who heaven always saw. And the world is about to see that version. The one that was born in the quiet. The one that rose from the ashes. The one that carries heaven's sound. Type "I have risen" in the comments if this word is your confirmation. Blessing code 8800 is now surrounding your calling. There comes a moment when heaven no longer hides the reason for the pain. When the curtain that once separated your agony from your assignment is pulled back, and what was once a mystery becomes a divine message. That moment has arrived. Hear me clearly. This pain was never random. The confusion you endured, the warfare you fought, the betrayal you suffered, it was all part of a prophetic design, a divine unlocking. And this message, this very moment, confirms that your suffering has birthed your elevation. Your fire has made you fit for the next dimension of your calling. What felt like abandonment was heaven's preparation room. What felt like silence was a womb of prophetic release. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are becoming. And now the veil is being lifted. The dreams you saw but didn't understand, they were previews. The symbols, the strange visions, the names that echoed in your spirit, they were not noise. They were instructions in disguise. Heaven hath been speaking in layers because your maturity had to rise to the message. And now, you're ready. This is a prophetic moment, a poetic one. You are being confirmed in heaven as someone ready for spiritual promotion, not because you passed every test perfectly, but because you didn't quit when quitting would have made more sense. You stayed. You listened. You endured. You obeyed in the dark. And now heaven is responding. Michael is speaking again, not through words but through movement. His sword is glowing with fire, not of wrath, but of restoration. He's bringing back everything that was delayed by your fear. He's reclaiming every door you missed the first time. He's retrieving every spiritual opportunity you forfeited out of confusion. He's moving on your behalf because heaven has judged your heart and found it faithful, even in your weakness. Hear this in your spirit. You were born to carry heaven's fire. Not everyone can. Not everyone will. But you've been chosen. Not because you were the strongest, but because you were the most surrendered. You didn't fight dirty. You didn't curse your enemies. You didn't slander your way through the storm. You went quiet. You went low. You let God do what only God could do. And now, because of that posture, your name is being whispered again, not by people but by heaven itself. God is marking your spirit with divine authority. Your prayers are changing frequencies. Your discernment is getting sharper. Your atmosphere is shifting. This is not emotional. This is not motivational. This is prophetic realignment. What was once blocked is opening. What was once denied is being reviewed. What was once overlooked is now shining with the oil of favor. This is the spiritual shift, and it cannot be stopped. Yes, someone ignored the warning. Yes, someone missed the moment. But heaven has pivoted, and out of what was lost, a new direction has been birthed. A new strategy, a new instruction, a new season. You are not stuck, you are stationed. And from this place of sacred positioning, the voice of God is going to speak to you differently. Dreams will return. Visions will sharpen. Warnings will grow louder. Revelation will accelerate. And your assignment will become clear. Do not run from this. You're not imagining the increase in spiritual sensitivity. You're not making up the strange feelings, the sudden discernment, the emotional detachment from old patterns. That's not dysfunction. That's heaven setting you apart. You are being sanctified for sight. You are being separated for sound. You are being refined for revelation. Heaven has looked upon your posture and found it worthy of fire. And now, Michael hath been commanded to go before you again. This time, not with tears, but with triumph. Your name is now carrying weight in the Spirit. And when your name carries weight in heaven, it disrupts hell. That's why war increased. That's why friendship shifted. That's why you suddenly lost tolerance for the shallow and the surface. You are not being dramatic. You are being promoted. The same fire that burned away your comfort has now lit the path to your calling. The evidence is coming. You will see it. You will feel it. You will walk in it. You will hear confirmations fall like raindrops over the next 7 days. Unprompted blessings. Strategic conversations. Sudden clarity. Don't dismiss them. Don't downplay them. They are heaven's signature on your obedience. You are stepping into prophetic fulfillment. The enemy wanted you to think the silence was rejection, but the silence was gestation. And now, the time of birthing has come, and the name of what you carry is fire bearer, glory carrier, prophetic vessel, heaven marked. Michael's cry wasn't just grief, it was prophecy and tears. And now, those tears have watered the soil of your assignment. You've passed through the fire, and you did not burn. Now rise, anointed and appointed. If this word has unlocked something in you, if the fire is stirring, and you want to support this prophetic flow, consider sending a super thanks with contributions up to $20. Every gift fuels more content, more clarity, and more fire-filled moments just like this. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe for ongoing prophetic words, spiritual strategies, and divine insight crafted to awaken and align your purpose. Your journey is just beginning. Type "I carry heaven's fire" in the comments. Lesson code 7744 is now active in your atmosphere. Speak it now. Speak your why yes aloud, not with trembling, but with fire. Say it in your soul, in your spirit, in the atmosphere around you. Say why yes to what heaven is trying to pour into your life. Because the moment your voice agrees with divine instruction, the moment your obedience aligns with prophetic timing, the spiritual code locked inside your journey begins to break open. Not next week, not next month. Now, heaven is no longer waiting for your perfection. It is waiting for your permission. Your destiny has never required applause. It has never depended on validation. It has never waited on people to see it. It has only been waiting on you to finally see yourself as chosen. You have been called, not because you are flawless, but because you are surrendered. And now, the doors that once refused to open are standing unlocked, but you must walk through. This is not a motivational whisper. This is a prophetic summons. You are standing in the space between stagnation and acceleration. You are hovering in the middle of memory and movement. But heaven is now requiring an answer. Not just a nod. Not just a moment of tears. Not just a like or a scroll pause. But a spiritual activation. An internal agreement that says, I will no longer sleep through my assignment. You were never meant to wander in circles. You were never meant to keep healing the same wound over and over again. There comes a time when healing is no longer your excuse, but your foundation. And that time has arrived. You've seen too much. You heard too much. You survived too much to stay seated in silence. The oil on your life is weighty now. It costs more than your feelings. It demands action. Every step you take from this moment forward is going to activate something. Every prayer will unlock atmosphere. Every declaration will stir angels. Every decision will ripple through the spirit realm. Because you are no longer walking in guesswork. You are walking in divine instruction. And with that instruction comes weight, responsibility, calling. You've been prepared for this, even when you thought you were being punished. Every delay was God building timing into your bones. Every betrayal was God teaching you how to walk alone. Every strange dream, every random moment of emotional disruption, every sudden silence in your circle, all of it was prophetic activation, not punishment. And now the seal has been broken. Destiny does not shout. It whispers. Destiny does not push. It waits for permission. Destiny does not beg. It waits for recognition. And now you see it. You feel it. You know that this is your moment to say, I will not miss it again. Not because you've earned it, but because you've been summoned by name. Your name has been echoing through the spirit. Michael heard it. Heaven recorded it. The veil has been thinned over your life, and the spirit is close. And that closeness demands clarity. It demands intention. This is why your distractions suddenly feel louder than usual. This is why temptations that no longer fed your soul are trying to sneak back in. Because the enemy sees your light expanding. Hell has picked up the signal of your awakening. And now, you must decide, not with emotion, but with conviction. Will you move? Will you respond? Will you activate what's already been confirmed? The ground you're standing on is not ordinary. The time you're living in is not casual. The moment your soul has entered is prophetic. This is what the fight was about. This is what the silence was training you for. This is why Archangel Michael cried, because he saw how close you were to this door and how easily distraction could pull you back. But now, the distraction has been identified. The clarity has returned, and the instructions have been released. You must act. You must walk in obedience even if no one applauds. You must speak only what heaven tells you, and stay silent when the Spirit seals your lips. You must protect your oil like your life depends on it, because spiritually, it does. And you must now say yes, not just with your words, but with your movements, with your decisions, with your alignments. Heaven responds to movement, not emotion. The hosts of heaven are standing by. Angels are poised. Scrolls are ready to be released. But the seal does not break until you decide to move, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and obediently. There is no more room for passivity. No more space for waiting for better timing. No more tolerating the familiar because it's comfortable. Your yes activates a chain reaction. Your yes releases divine covering. Your yes sends clarity to confused spaces and protection to vulnerable places. When you say yes, Michael's sword strikes again, this time not in sorrow, but in sealant. He marks your path. He clears your trail. He commissions the wind of heaven to push you into new rooms, new territories, new realms. You are not late. You are right on time, because time bends for obedience. And now, as this word vibrates through your spirit, you know what must be done. You know the phone call you shouldn't answer. You know the door you should no longer knock on. You know the routine that must end. You know the conversation that must be had. You know where to go, and you know what to carry. Now move. Heaven will not drag you. Heaven will empower you. But that empowerment responds to obedience. So speak your yes, and then walk it out. Type "I say yes to heaven" in the comments if this is your divine activation. Blessing code 9991 is now active and creating movement around your name. There are things happening around your life right now that your eyes have not seen and your ears have not heard, but your spirit knows. Your spirit has felt the shift. Your inner man has been restless at strange hours, waking with no alarm. Your atmosphere has been tight. Conversations have been unusually quiet. Moments of divine discomfort have increased. That is not anxiety. That is not fatigue. That is the sound of movement behind the veil. There is an exchange happening in the spirit realm. You cannot see it. You cannot control it. But heaven is moving things on your behalf. Right now, as your body walks through ordinary days, your spirit is being brought before extraordinary courts. Heavenly scrolls are being opened. Angelic witnesses are standing. Archangel Michael has returned, not in tears, but in armor. This is no longer the moment of grief. This is the hour of divine negotiation. Yes, heaven is negotiating for you. Negotiating what was stolen. Negotiating what was delayed. Negotiating the promises made over your name before your birth. This isn't just spiritual language, this is spiritual transaction. There is a courtroom in the realm you cannot touch, where justice is being weighed by scales not made with human hands. And your name, your identity, your future are being measured in the balance of eternity. When Michael wept, it was not because you failed. It was because your name was hanging in the balance of time, and your delay almost forfeited what was already written. But the grace of God stood in the gap. The mercy of the Father stretched wider than your mistakes. And now, even as consequences unfold, redemption is beginning its work behind the scenes. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are represented. Michael has gone before the throne again. But this time, not in sorrow. This time, in defense. He is testifying of your growth. He is presenting your shift. He is revealing your awakening. And heaven responds to repentance faster than it responds to perfection. This is why you feel a strange peace even while the circumstances remain messy. This is why you feel divine nearness even when clarity is still forming. Because spiritually, there has been a shift. What was being withheld is now being reviewed. What was once locked is being negotiated for return. Michael is in motion. Heaven is in session. And your name is on the table. You must understand what happens when you yield, when you surrender, when you pull back and realign, when you say yes and let go of what you tried to manage in your own strength. It sends a sound into the unseen. It releases a vibration into realms where your voice could never go. That is what triggers the exchange. Heaven does not respond to chaos. It responds to obedience. It doesn't need your perfection. It needs your positioning. And now that you have been postured correctly, now that your heart has said yes without needing the full blueprint, the Spirit has moved. A divine request has been filed on your behalf. Not by you, but by your angelic representation. There are ancient scrolls being reviewed. Promises tied to your bloodline. Callings that were spoken over your lineage but were dropped. Assignments your ancestors couldn't complete. And now, those mantles are being reassigned, and your name is glowing in that assignment list. You didn't ask for this. You didn't chase this. That's what made you eligible. That's what made heaven pause. That's what made Michael stand again, because humility accelerates heaven's agenda. As you sit quietly on the outside, heaven is loud on the inside. The courtroom of God is not in chaos, it is in deliberation. Your tears have spoken when words could not. Your silence has thundered where noise once blocked the breakthrough. There has been an exchange, and you, chosen one, are the recipient. Let it settle in your spirit. While you cried, heaven recorded. While you wept on your pillow and felt like nothing changed, heaven was writing. While you sat in silence, misunderstood and overlooked, the angels were carrying your name before the Ancient of Days. While you said nothing, God was saying everything on your behalf. Michael cried because your name was that important. Michael watched because your decision shifted the case. And now Michael moves because heaven has decided you are to be restored. There are no trumpets, no lightning bolts, no immediate answers. But something has shifted in the invisible. Something that can't be undone. Something that will begin manifesting slowly, quietly, deeply, and then suddenly, you will see relationships adjust without your interference. You will see opportunities reappear. You will see clarity come like flashes. You will hear confirmations in places you didn't expect. These are not signs to brag about. These are signs that the exchange is complete. And now, all you must do is walk in it, under it, protect it. This is your portion, not chaos but covenant, not confusion but clarity, not exhaustion but inheritance. You are no longer wandering. You are being reestablished. And as Michael watches from the edge of the veil, he knows this time you will not skip it. This time, you will carry it. Type I am covered in the exchange in the comments if this confirms your spirit. Lesson code 5115 is now releasing glory over your life. Heaven has witnessed everything they did to you. Every false word spoken in secret, every manipulative smile wrapped in dishonor, every delay engineered by spirits assigned to exhaust you. It was all recorded. Not one moment was overlooked. Not one attack passed unnoticed. While they thought they were getting away with it, while they thought your silence meant defeat, while they mistook your stillness for surrender, the court of heaven was gathering testimony. And now, justice is no longer pending. It has been declared. You are entering a season not of revenge but of reversal. Not of vengeance, but of victory that cannot be denied. Because what they meant for harm, what they designed to break your spirit, what they tried to stain your name with, heaven is using it all as evidence to elevate you. The very hands that tried to cover your light are about to witness your rising. The very mouths that sowed confusion around your name will now be silenced as heaven speaks for you. This is divine justice. And divine justice does not move like human systems. It does not need a platform. It does not require an audience. It unfolds in precision. Divine. Holy. Inescapable. This kind of justice isn't driven by your desire to be right. It's driven by heaven's need to fulfill purpose. And heaven has ruled in your favor. Not because you fought harder. Not because you exposed anyone, but because you kept your posture pure. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was sacred obedience. And now that sacred obedience has turned the tide, you feel it. The shift is happening. You're not angry anymore. You're not even looking for closure. That's how you know heaven is healing what they tried to wound. And as the healing deepens, the reversal begins. The accusations are reversing. The rumors are turning back on the tongues that released them. The resistance that tried to hold you is breaking in pieces, and doors are opening without your knock. Favor is showing up in rooms where you were once dismissed. Conversations are being held in your absence, that are changing the trajectory of your future. This is not just breakthrough. This is retribution. This is restoration with interest. This is divine repayment. Archangel Michael is no longer weeping. He is moving. The sword that once burned in sorrow now burns in holy justice. He is walking into spaces on your behalf, reclaiming what was yours, closing the mouths of those who judged too early, and striking down spiritual systems that thought you were disqualified. Michael is not just defending you now, he is promoting you. This is your spiritual restoration. This is your divine elevation. The throne has ruled in your favor. The scrolls are sealed, and justice is no longer coming. It is here. Those who lied on you will watch your promotion. Those who doubted you will witness your divine results. Those who called you finished will have to rewrite their assumptions. You won't need to prove anything. You won't need to explain what happened in the quiet places of pain. Heaven is your vindicator. The Holy Spirit is your witness. Michael is your enforcer. And the angels assigned to your life are now retrieving what was lost in the last season. God is restoring your spiritual rank. Your voice is being returned with more weight. Your name is being recalibrated in the Spirit. Your presence will now carry a holy hush, not because of pride, but because of the authority that flows from those who have passed through fire and remain faithful. This is not charisma. This is not performance. This is the result of divine justice issuing reversal orders over your life. Some of you will receive phone calls of unexpected reconciliation, not because the people changed it, but because heaven demanded they make it right. Some of you will see doors open that were locked for years, not because you knock harder, but because your angels have gone ahead and cleared the obstruction. Some of you will feel emotional release so powerful, it will feel like deliverance, because it is. This is the kind of justice that cannot be reversed. This is the kind of favor that cannot be faked. This is the kind of promotion that comes not from the hand of man, but the hand of God. Heaven is not giving you back what was stolen. Heaven is giving you back what was withheld. The peace, the positioning, the revelation, the clarity, the confidence, and the covenant that was delayed because of spiritual interference. Now, the interference hath been judged. The delay has been dismantled, and your divine destiny is fully back in motion. The enemies you see today, you will see them no more. The weight you felt yesterday, you will not carry it tomorrow. Because when heaven rules in your favor, no devil, no witch, no lie, no trauma can block what God has unlocked. Michael is no longer crying. He's executing the judgment. He's cutting the cords. He's clearing the path. And he's preparing the way for you to walk in justice you didn't even ask for, because your silence already proved your case. If this word has shaken your soul and confirmed your spirit, and you'd like to help fuel more of these prophetic messages, consider giving a super thanks. Contributions up to $10 go a long way. Your support helps us reach more people with words from the throne. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Make sure to subscribe now for deeper revelations, spiritual training, and ongoing insight. You're not just watching, you're walking into alignment. Type "Justice is mine" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 6116 is now writing your name in divine favor. Archangel Michael cried because he still cared. His tears were not a sign of weakness. They were proof of intercession. When you ignored the warning, when you skipped the sign, when you delayed the instruction, he didn't leave you. He didn't abandon you. Duet. Because even when you were out of alignment, your purpose was still in reach. Even when your discernment was clouded, your name was still protected. Now that the scroll has been read, now that the justice has been released, now that the sword has moved, hear this. You are sealed in heaven, armed in silence, and wrapped in fire. The delays did not destroy you. The silence did not break you. The betrayal did not cancel you. Everything you walked through only verified what heaven already knew about you, that you are chosen, refined, anointed, and appointed. This time, you did not skip him. You listened. You responded. You shifted. And because you did, the blessing has already begun. Not the loud kind, not the public kind, the kind that restores your soul before it restores your situation, the kind that brings peace into rooms before it brings promotion into them, the kind of blessing that rewires how you see yourself, that aligns your movements, that increases your discernment, that confirms you in silence before anyone else even sees the shift. So breathe. You've crossed through the valley. You survived the shaking. You walked through the fire. And now, as heaven moves into your next chapter, I declare over you, you are no longer delayed. You are no longer doubting. You are no longer drowning in confusion. You are walking in holy boldness. You are moving with spiritual clarity. You are carrying the kind of presence that cannot be faked and cannot be shaken. May the Spirit of God surround you with unshakable peace. May Michael's sword stand beside you with divine defense. May your atmosphere remain consecrated, your name be preserved, and your purpose sharpened like never before. You are not walking away from this the same. You are walking out of this as the one heaven knew you were all along. So now, rise. Not in emotion, but in precision. Not in fear, but in fire. Not with noise, but with anointing. You've been activated. You've been protected. You've been vindicated. And now you are being commissioned. Your yes echoed through eternity. Your silence released your seal. Your obedience opened the heavens. And now walk. Heaven is already waiting. Type I am chosen, still in the comments if this final word seals your spirit. Blessing code 1212 is now marking your destiny with clarity and peace.